Hello, hello. Emily Eldridge here, Inner Work for Greater Good. I'm the creator of the ChangeLight system, which teaches change makers and mission-driven leaders and anyone who's passionate about changing the world inner work that accelerates their power to change the world. If this is your first time, I'm so glad you're here. And if you've been watching, I am so glad too, because as you know, I've been sharing a lot of good information, really introducing you to the discoveries that I've made through my work, which is all about healing people of their deepest struggles and wounds and triggers and traumas and blocks and blind spots and all those things that get in the way of truly knowing their truth and living it and actualizing it and making the greatest possible impact that they can. I'm a change maker. I'm someone who has struggled with these things. That's actually why I created this system, because I had all of this stuff going on inside me, and I still sometimes do. I still have these blocks and these triggers, and I still call on these aspects and work with the ChangeLight system to navigate difficult situations in my life or difficult reactions or things like that. So I'm always excited to share this information with you, because to be honest with you, it's been a long time coming. It's been a lot of years of really, having this information and having these discoveries that I've made and these techniques that I do. And yet, how do I get it out to the world? So that's always been an interesting challenge. And so I'm just loving doing this show and being able to share this with you. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Oops, hold on. This whole sharing screen thing is always an interesting challenge. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So here, whoops, wrong one. Let's go back. All right. So yes, inner work for greater good. And it's all about really trying to make a bigger difference in the world, but by doing it from the inside out, as opposed to just focusing on how can I do this and do that for other people. It really is about being that presence, being that light in the world. In fact, that's why I call my work ChangeLight. It's about being the light of change that our world so desperately needs. Not faking it, not acting like you've got it together, but really being it and radiating it. So as you know, if you've seen some of my previous episodes, I'm talking about your X powers. Oops, that shouldn't be doing that. X powers, your M powers, your guiding star, and your truth. These are the basic elements of the ChangeLight system that it's all about, that we've got this truth inside. You have a truth that you were here to live, that you are here to actualize, bring into reality. And so it's all about revealing that truth within you, being that presence that you're here to be, being who you are, as well as evolving into who you're here to become. And so it's a matter of clearing those X powers and bringing forward more of those M powers, and then bringing forward also your guiding star, which is the subject of today's episode. We're nearing the end of my giving you like the nuts and bolts of the ChangeLight system, your guiding star, and that ultimately it's about getting to your truth, because that is the most at peace and most empowered you can possibly feel. That's what it's all about. So who is your guiding star? Your guiding star, as I define it, is the vision of you, the vision that you carry inside of you as your optimal self. It embodies who you are, how you feel, and what you do when you are fully living your truth. So here's basically what your guiding star is. Imagine who you would be without any insecurities, any fears, without any of those things that feel like they get in the way of you truly being the presence that you know you can be. Who would you be without all of that stuff that gets in the way? Not only that, let's say you're without those things. Who would you be if you were also living in full alignment, fully aligned with who you know you are, and actualizing, becoming who you are here to be? So really your guiding star is that inner vision that you carry, or it's like the embodiment of you living your truth, feeling completely free of fears, completely empowered, completely like your fullest, brightest, most radiant, wisest, happiest, most at peace with yourself, most joyful. Like, this is what your guiding star is. It is the embodiment of you living your truth. So, as I often say, when it comes to your guiding star, there's a reason why we have an inner guiding star. And I'll tell you the story about how I discovered mine. But the reason why we have a guiding star is that it's one thing to kind of know that you have a truth and maybe have sort of certain nudges this way or that way that you feel are coming from your truth, or really stepping into, taking certain actions that that, like, you just know, like, this is what you're meant to do. This is the direction you're meant to take. This is the decision you're meant to make, because you know that on some level it is aligned with your truth. But the thing is, it can make it so much easier in so many ways when you actually, like, have a vision, when you're like, oh, that's what I look like when I'm fully living my truth. That's how I behave when I'm fully optimized. That's how I think about things. That's how I respond as opposed to react. That's how I respond to situations. And so your inner guiding star is basically like your optimal self, and like how you show up in the world, and what are the types of choices that you make, or how do you respond to certain situations. And oftentimes, sometimes it can be similar to how you are doing it right now, but a lot of times it's not, because really your guiding star is that optimal version of you. It's not affected by insecurities or fears, or and anything that tends to get in the way of us truly showing up as our fullest selves. So that leads me to I want to show you this next slide. So what is it that your guiding star does, right? How can it serve you? Okay, so I have this guiding star. Yeah, but what can it do for you? It's the coolest thing. So your guiding star inspires and guides you to be and to become your optimal self. So it's there as a source of inspiration for you, so that you may kind of go, well, I think I sort of have some idea of, like, what kind of truth I want to live, but when like, maybe what I want to do, but when you've got that vision in front of you, it can inspire you, so that even at times when you think, nah, I don't know, really, I don't know, could I be that person? Yes, you can be that person. You can be that presence. And that actually leads to the other thing. One of the other things that your guiding star does is that even in the darkest times, your guiding star can light your way out of that darkness and give you the courage and conviction to emerge from that darkness, knowing that you can be that person living that life. So this leads me to share the story of how I even discovered that I have a guiding star, that any of us have a guiding star. So I went through, I think I've mentioned this in previous show or several previous shows. I went through a really, really dark time in my life, a deep, dark night of the soul. And that was back in like 2008, 2009. I was severely depressed. I was severely self-loathing. I hated myself. There were times when I wanted to end my life. I really did think about it, because I just didn't see a future. Everything in my life had collapsed. The relationship that I thought was the one was gone. The vision that we had, the thing that we were creating together, gone. It was just, everything had been kind of building up to this wonderful, yes, I'm finally on my path, and I'm finally going to make the difference that I'm here to make, and with these people. And then it was just gone, just completely fell apart. And so I fell apart as well. I fell into a deep, dark depression. And honestly, I didn't know who I was, because it was like, up to that point, I kind of thought I knew who I was. And I thought I was a pretty good person, a good presence in the world. And, and I thought we were really making a difference, but that was all taken away. And it really, honestly, the thing that I felt inside it was almost like the identity that I thought I was, like who I thought was the Emily that is Emily, it was like that was just a scaffolding. In other words, something very like a rickety structure inside of me, that when everything in my life collapsed, it's like that collapsed as well. And there was nothing, no thing, darkness, no light, no joy, no sense of a future, no sense of purpose. And if anything, I thought that all of that was just BS. I thought that I thought all of that's BS, and that's all stuff that everybody makes up. Nobody really has a purpose. We're just these like molecules floating in space, and I just really, and I had no sense of connection with any spirituality. I didn't think that love was real. I thought that people who said that they loved me were just codependent, or they were, faking it. I mean, that was how self-loathing I was, that I didn't believe that anybody truly could care about me. So that's just by way of saying that was the situation that I was in back in 2008, 2009, such a deep place of shame. Here's the interesting thing though, and this is where your guiding star comes in. And I didn't realize this until years later. So during that time, as I was really struggling, at the same time, again, I only realized this in hindsight, but at the same time, I kept seeing this like image of me just radiant and happy and beautiful and, slender and fit, of course, because that's what I want. But I saw her, and she was on a red carpet, and she was like going into an event, because the red carpet was obviously for an event. And there were like cameras and stuff like that. And she was wearing this white gown that's beaded. And I think it was like off the shoulder. It's just this beautiful white gown. So like so elegant and so put together. But also like so real. In other words, she wasn't putting on an act. It wasn't like, oh, hi, yes, hi. No, I mean, she's so completely present and so real and so genuinely kind and compassionate, but at the same time, so very strong on the inside. In other words, like kind of compassionate, but she's not a pushover. But the point is that when I was in that really dark place, I kept seeing this like flash, like she was just kind of there. And I remember knowing, I don't know how I'm going to be her, but I just know I'm going to be her, or at least close to her, right? Doesn't have to be exactly her, but it was like, I know I can be her. Oh, and by the way, too, I saw her like I knew that she was traveling the world. I knew that she was speaking. I knew that she was really making a difference in people's lives. So it was like, I had a sense of what she was also all about and the impact she was having. And so I just knew. Now, mind you, at the time, I was severely depressed, getting evicted from my apartment, basically living on friends' couches. I had no sense of like there was any purpose. I mean, it was just a really bad place. And yet at the same time, there she was. And it was like that knowing that even despite everything else, and even despite looking at my whole, like the reality of my life, which was I was not working, I wasn't doing anything of value, and I was completely emotionally self-absorbed because I didn't have the bandwidth for anyone else. It was like I still knew. I mean, so the reality was like, there's no way, like, how are you ever going to be that person? But I knew. I just knew. I didn't know how, but I knew that I'd be her. So then I ended up creating the drawing out process, which I've mentioned in multiple episodes, and then discovering the X powers and M powers. And I was feeling so much better. And I was feeling so much lighter and so much more whole. And so here I was like coming out of that darkness. But a big thing that helped me come out of that darkness was knowing I could be her. So she was literally, and I'll tell you later, I didn't call her guiding star. I wasn't even really consciously aware of what was going on. But only in hindsight did I realize that she was the thing. Like having her there was the thing that kept me determined to get out of that darkness, knowing that on some level, somehow I was going to be like that person. So she fueled my courage and fueled my determination, even in the darkest period of my life. So cut to a few years later, and I just think such a kind of an interesting story. So I struggled with health issues for a lot of years. and 9/11 related. I was a first responder at 9/11, spontaneous first responder at 9/11. And as a result, I ended up, and I didn't really know this for like 14 years, but what I was struggling with was chemical sensitivity that had formed during my time at Ground Zero when I was there. And that chemical sensitivity, it would like come and go. So it was always trying to, I didn't understand what was going on. But what it would also do to my body is I'd get very depressed, just and I couldn't stop crying. So I'd have these massive crying fits, and I'd get eczema all over my body, like bloody, horrible eczema all over my whole body. So it was pretty bad. So it was like physical and emotional symptoms that I was dealing with. And I'd go into a really bad place and I couldn't work. So I think it was like 2014, 2015. And I was in one of those periods where I couldn't work. I could barely function. My poor husband was having to carry so much of the load for both of us. And I was laying on the couch and I was binging on Netflix. And I was, just watching shows, because documentaries. I was kind of like, well, if I'm going to sit here and binge, I'll try to watch stuff that's like at least informative or educational. So I'd sort of, watch documentaries. But the point is, I ended up watching this show called Under the Gun. And Under the Gun was hosted by Tim Gunn, who's in Project Runway. He used to be the mentor on Project Runway, if you've ever seen the TV show. And he's this wonderful, just wonderful, precious man who's like so kind and so supportive. And so he had his own show. And part of the show, it was designing. If you're not familiar with the show, it's really good. It was about designing, but it was also about mentorship. So he was not only were these fashion designers like designing their clothes and making these clothes, but also Tim was mentoring their mentors. Okay, so he was teaching them how to be better mentors to these fashion designers. And these mentors were fashion designers themselves. Some of them had already been on the show. Maybe they all, I don't remember if they've all been on the show, but at least one of them I remember had been on the show before as a contestant. So he's mentoring them. So I'm watching this in my like deep, dark, depressed state. And I just started bawling, just bawling. And I was like, oh, because I felt, yeah, that's what it looks like. Because I felt so lost and I felt so terrified. And I felt so out of control and powerless because of this health issue that kept coming, and I didn't know how to stop it and I didn't know how to fix it. And it completely just obliterated my ability to do anything. And it was so frustrating too, because again, like on some level, I kind of had this idea of I know who I'm here to be. I know what I can do. Wasn't doing any of that. So it was incredibly painful and frustrating to be just laying there, not doing a damn thing and feeling so worthless. So I started bawling. And I was like, I need a mentor. I did. I was like, I just suddenly hit me. I'm like, I need a mentor. I need someone who'll help me. And I need someone who'll, guide me and, give me advice and, stuff like that. I needed someone who could understand the vision that I had for myself and be able to support me in affecting that. And I think it was also a sign of just how very alone I felt in that sickness. I mean, again, my husband was being wonderful, but I just felt that I didn't know how to get out of this. So I laid there sobbing for a while. And then finally, I really started to think, okay, who could be my mentor? Who could actually, someone who gets the vision that I have and the work that I'm doing and could really be a great positive role model for me in someone who really understands the kind of level of impact that I want to have and the leadership and the type of impact that I want to have. And I really thought to myself, and I was like, I know great people. I know great people, but just nobody came to mind as like, okay, yes, this is my mentor. So then I was like, well, if I can't, have an external mentor, then maybe, I don't know, maybe I can just sort of find an inner one. And as soon as I said that, it was like, just this like, whoa, like this presence just went like, almost like I'm here. And I heard Guiding Star. It was just like, boom. And I was like, whoa, maybe that's it. maybe it's like I have my own inner guiding star who can mentor me along the way, until I find a mentor. I actually could find one inside. I'd found one inside. And it was amazing. And as soon as I felt that, it was like all of a sudden it all just made sense. From that time when I was really depressed, it was like, oh, her. Oh, it's her. It's that woman, me, the version of me on that red carpet with that off the shoulder white beaded gown, looking beautiful and radiant and happy. It's like, oh, she's the one. And I realized that she'd been there the whole time. She'd been there the whole time, and she'd been mentoring and trying to guide me all of those years. I just hadn't fully recognized her and recognized her presence and honored what she'd been trying to do. So this is all by way of saying that we all have. I discovered my own inner guiding star. You have an inner guiding star inside of you. And she may not be looking like mine, like on a red carpet with a white gown. Yours may be laying on a beach in the Bahamas. I don't know. Yours may be teaching children, doing any number of things. But the whole point of your guiding star is that it is your optimal self, who you are here to be. That being said, let me just throw in there, it's who you're here to be, but it's not about like, I have to be that person. No, it's not about, if it creates anxiety inside of you, then you're pushing yourself too hard. You're pressuring yourself too much. And I've made that mistake because I started to think, well, my guiding star would do this and my guiding star would do that. Well, I try to live by my guiding star, when in reality, I wasn't emotionally aligned yet. But the whole point is that that guiding star that you have inside of you is there to inspire and guide you to become that presence. Okay, that presence in the world. So what do I mean by presence? Well, the light that you radiate, the energy that you radiate, how people feel around you, how you want people to feel around you, how you feel inside, who you are without any insecurities or any fears, totally knowing your truth, knowing every step that you need to take that's in alignment with your truth, living it, actualizing your truth. So showing up as your fullest, most empowered, most at peace, most complete whole self. That is essentially your guiding star. And so that's the point of your guiding star. You have a guiding star, whether you realize it or not. And that's why I told that story about like, I didn't even realize that I had this vision inside of me. The other thing that can happen too, by the way, with your inner guiding star is that sometimes we can have that image, but we dismiss it because we think, no, there's no way, that's not possible. It's almost like an automatic thing too. We don't even realize that that image is coming to us, or that voice or whatever it, she's there. Maybe yours might be a he or a they, I don't know. But that presence, that guiding star is showing up for you. And yet you may also have an X power, a mechanism that kind of dismisses it like, no, there's no way that could ever happen. You know what? Yes, it can happen. It can happen. In fact, I have never met a person who, when they've shared what it is that they want to do or who they want to be or the impact that they want to have, I've never heard anyone say anything that was just like truly impossible. So for example, I've never had anyone think about it. It's like, if someone says, well, I want to mine for gold on the moon. Okay, I would say that's impossible because I don't know there's any evidence of gold on the moon. You see what I'm saying? So talk about a moonshot, right? That most people's guiding star and the presence they want to be is not out of reach. It's entirely possible. But it really is all about clearing those X powers, bringing forward those M powers, because that's what your guiding star represents, is you at your most at peace, most empowered, fully living your truth. So whatever vision that you have of like, I don't know why, but I just see myself doing this thing, trust it, and trust yourself and your ability to be that presence, because you were designed to be it. You have everything you need, all of the power, the wisdom, the traits, the qualities, the whatever, to be who you are here to be. And so that's what I really want to encourage you, is trusting that whatever that vision is of who you're here to be, you can be that presence. Here's the other thing, that's the thing about the guiding star that I found, is it's less about, I would say, okay, using mine as an example, it's less about like the accoutrements of, like what she's wearing, or where she is, and more about how she feels inside. So what I tend to do is I tune into my inner guiding star, and I'll ask questions, like sometimes if I'm trying to figure out, sort through a problem or figure out a decision to make or how to respond to a situation, I'll ask, what would my inner guiding star do? How would my inner guiding star feel? And so I can tune into, it's this version of me without any insecurities, without any fears. And I can hear her voice too. Sometimes she is that mentor for me. She guides me, and she'll be like I think I've said this in a previous episode, but it makes me laugh because sometimes she's just so cut and dried. She's just so practical. She's just like so to the point and just cuts through all the BS that I'm almost like, whoa, really? Like, really, I can do that or say that? And she's just like, well, why wouldn't you? Like, to her, it's just, well, of course, like, this is what your truth is saying, or this is what you would do if you were living your truth. You wouldn't be caught up in all the insecurities. You wouldn't be caught up in all the self questions, you see? So that's also where the guiding stars, like, you can tune into your guiding star and also know how it feels to be your guiding star. And that can make it easier too, to therefore align your energies and align your feelings and align your perceptions with her or him or they, so that you can really be more quickly be that presence and live the truth that you are here to live. So I hope this has been it's inspiring for you. I want to go back to sharing my screen because, as always, I've got a little bit more to share. So let's see, what does your guiding star do? As always, your M power, your X powers. I don't have much time to go through all this, but the point is, we've got your X powers, again, the ChangeLight system, and it's about working with all of these inner parts so that you can fully, fully, fully live your truth and be the brightest light and have the greatest impact, not just by what you do, but by who you are. Because the presence you are in the world can have an even greater impact a lot of the times, more so than whatever activities you involve in. When you can be that presence, when you can really show up more and more as your guiding star, living your fullest truth, that's when you can truly, truly change the world in magical and wonderful ways. So the ChangeLight system, as always, I like to share that the ChangeLight system includes these techniques that are all about drawing out and releasing those X powers, those struggles, inner struggles, and bringing forward your M powers. But also, I teach you how to bring forward that guiding star, how to tune in and tap in and really work with that guiding star. You can ask it questions. And what would my guiding star do is a really key question. I've asked that question so many times. What would my guiding star do? And it's just such an interesting, it just cuts to the chase rather than kind of going, I don't know, well, what would my guiding star do? Oh, well, she would do this. Oh, okay, all right. And here's the other thing. Again, it's not like I have to do everything my guiding star says to do, and I have to be my guiding star. No, this is not about creating stress. Maybe you're not ready to take the step that your guiding star would take. That's okay. You are where you are, but the whole point is that whatever step or approach that your guiding star sees and feels and thinks is that's the optimal. So you kind of want to go in that direction. But ultimately, it's always important to honor where you are right now. Okay. Your guiding star is like the ultimate. Okay. There's no pressure here. This is not about forcing or pressuring yourself to be your ultimate self, but it's still at least knowing so that you can have a clearer sense of what choices to make, what direction to take, what steps to take, et cetera, what attitude to have, how to respond in certain situations. So that's what the ChangeLight system does. This is what I teach. This is what I created. And it's all about accelerating your ability to live your truth, achieve your optimum potential, and do the greatest good. That's why I call this inner work for greater good, because it's all about when you do that inner work, you can really have the greatest impact. Finally, Where can you do the ChangeLight system? In my community. I have a community that has a course. Go to community.changelight.world. It's a private community where you can do this work, your inner work for greater good, and really, connect with other people in the community. I do videos every week. I do Q&As and all kinds of fun stuff. We do interviews with change makers, and the whole course is in there. So there's a lot to experience. So there we go, inner work for greater good. And I'm going to stop the share so that you can see my face again. So in any case, I really hope that this has been helpful. So as you know, if you just joined us, please do go back and watch the other videos so that you can get the basis for all of this stuff that I've been sharing. But really, it's all about trying to teach you about the ChangeLight system so that you learn what's going on inside of you and what it is that you need to work with, heal, clear, bring forward in order to truly feel your most at peace, your most empowered, your optimal self, free of all those fears and blocks and traumas and triggers and wounds and all that kind of stuff that gets in the way, and truly trusting the design that you carry inside of you, those empowers who know your truth and know what will bring you the greatest peace and how to live that truth. So, and of course, your guiding star, which does that as well. And your truth is your inner knowing of who you are and who you are here to be. And so that is your compass in this lifetime. And I see it as that's your only job, your truth. You have your own truth. I have my own truth. And when we're living our truth, we're doing our job. We're doing our life's job. And to be honest with you, even though it can be really challenging to live your truth, it can be scary for sure, because it does mean sometimes stepping out into, zones where you risk getting criticized or what have you. But that's why it's also about doing that inner work so that you feel more courageous and more empowered and more light filled. And it's just so much easier to actually do that, to live your truth so that you can truly feel your most at peace and most empowered, because that's really what it's about. When we live our truth, it's not always easy, but it is always worth it. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. Again, this is Emily Eldridge, Inner Work for Greater Good, and I will see you next week. Bye.